morning. Good morning, Dr. Kim. And to all my brothers and sisters, it's a joy to be here with you. And happy Sunday. Are you happy this morning? I'm really happy to see you. And I was really happy to see the video of the 40-day workshop. Wow. One advantage of being old is you get to see a bigger picture. Okay? So I'm older than most of you here. And back in the 90s, 1990s, not the 1890s, but the 1990s, I was involved in teaching workshops, one after the other. 7-day, and then 21-day. And then we were also doing 40-day workshops, one after the other, at 43rd Street in New York. And if you could go back in time to one of those workshops and then see this experience that I saw here at Chungcheon, I had the great privilege to give some of the lectures for the workshop. It's just amazing how far God's providence has advanced. I mean, it's like night and day. The experience in the 90s of the 40-day workshop, at that time, people coming off the streets, so many struggles. So, oh my gosh, you can't imagine. But to see the brightness and the incredible experience of the young students at this 40-day, especially their experience in the Chungcheon, it's an amazing time we're living in. So thank you, Heavenly Parent. Thank you, True Father. Thank you, True Mother, right? Let's give them a hand. All right, so sometimes we don't always feel the happiest, right? You ever not feel the happiest sometimes? When I'm feeling that way, I turn to my wife and I say, I'm so happy for another day to be living in the heart of my heavenly parent. There's good news to share with everyone everywhere. Our true mother's calling us into heavenly parents' holy community. Remember that? Okay, so that's just the refrain. So sing it with me together. Oh, I'm so happy for another day to be living in the heart of our heavenly parent. There's good news to share with everyone everywhere. Our true mother's calling us into heavenly parents' holy community. Thank you, I feel better. So one reason we gather together every Sunday is to remind ourselves of who we are, who is our heavenly parent, and why we're here. This is really important, right? Just like we pray every day, when we pray each day, we're reminding ourselves of our relationship with our heavenly parent and our true parents. Right? So our heavenly parent is real. He's not visible. You can't see our heavenly parent. But our heavenly parent is the absolute original being who made this beautiful universe, this beautiful planet Earth, and who had an amazing dream, which was to live in the hearts of his first son and daughter, and through them to experience the love and the joy of giving birth to all humanity and living in joy with every person. It's a great dream, right? But also our heavenly parent is the one who experienced the human fall and went through the terrible pain of losing his children and walking a long and painful course of trying to find the way to bring us home. He sent Jesus, his son. He wanted to send his daughter 2,000 years ago, but was not able to because Jesus was misunderstood. And then 2,000 years after that, after so much blood, sweat, and tears, Jesus raised up our true Father, and true Father prepared the way and found the only begotten daughter of God, and the position of true parents was established. And now we're living in this time in which True Mother has ushered in the age of Chunoguk, and the heavenly family is growing. I wish it was growing quicker, but it's growing. And that's why we're here. We're here. We're part of that family. And we're helping our true parents, we're helping our heavenly parent to build this incredible family on this earth. So that's why I always like to say to our new guests, welcome home. Right? We're building God's home, right? And this community here, this experience is taking place all around America and all around the world, right? So that's why we're here, okay? So I found this kind of wrapped up in one passage from True Mother. This is on Children's Day a few years back. Today is Children's Day. The creator and owner of the universe is our heavenly parent. That's good news, right? Together with true parents on earth, heavenly parents' dream is to love children such as you and to look to the future together with you to achieve the dream of seeing the heavenly kingdom on earth. Our world has become a hard place to live in due to the mistakes of the adults who were to be our first ancestors. Yet who could not become one with the Creator? Yet, following the birth of true parents, during the past 12 years, true parents have worked to prepare the environment for a new history and to establish Chunoguk. As a result, next year we will be able to dedicate the Chun Il Sanctum in Chunwanggung, where people can attend Heavenly Parent on earth. Okay? So this morning I want to talk to you about the importance of the Chunwanggung and our participation in helping to establish the Chunwanggung. That's what I'd like to share about this morning. Okay, so we're living in an amazing time. So my title for the sermon is, Let's Give God the Win. Okay? I cannot tell you how amazing it is. We are a people who know who a heavenly parent is. We know what God's providence has been and where it's at this moment. And we can actually, in real time, participate in that providence. This is an amazing thing. Yeah. I wish there was 1,000 times more people who understood what we all understood. But nevertheless, we are here. And our brothers and sisters gathering today on Sunday all around America, all around the world, they are part of this amazing blessing. Okay? When I joined this movement, one of the reasons was I really felt sorry for God. That was one of the things that motivated me, because I really didn't want to become a religious person. I had all kinds of plans for my life, and I just did not want to go the religious way. Growing up, I always felt sorry for religious people. Okay? I always felt pity for them. They'd come to knocking on our door. My mom would answer the door, and I'd be looking around, I just would feel so sorry for them. They're either fundraising or, trying to proselytize like that. Anyway, I joined because when through the divine principle, it reveals God's story to us. And it is such a sad story that God invested so much love and then his heart was broken, right? With Adam and Eve. They turned their hearts away from God after God had invested for billions of years with this expectation of living with his son and daughter. So God's heart was crushed. And then when God tries to remedy it, he comes to Adam and Eve and says, "What have you done? Right? Did you eat? Did you do what I told you not to do?" And of course, God knew what they had done, but the reason God was reaching out with his heart was he wanted them to take responsibility and to come back. But instead, what did they do? Adam accuses Eve, and Eve accuses the archangel. And Adam even accuses God. He says, you're the one who made her, that woman, right? So then God's heart is like devastated even more deeply, right? Then what could God say? What can God do? He couldn't do anything. And he had to wait. And then he tried, right, with their sons, Abel and Cain. And he spoke to Cain, and he shared his heart with Cain, right? Don't do the bad thing. If you do well, I want to bless you also. God tried to express his heart to Cain. But Cain didn't listen, and he murdered his brother. And then it took thousands of years until Noah, right? Then God tries with Noah, and it fails again. And, then he calls Abraham, right? And Abraham, he has hope in Abraham, but from the beginning, Abraham betrays his faith in God. And the providence is prolonged another 400 years, right? So when I heard God's story, these failures, one after the other, and then especially when he sent his son Jesus, and he was rejected and crucified, how painful, right? So what I realized was God has been trying so desperately with all his heart to call his children home. And every time people turned away, they turned their back on God. So I really felt that when I heard the study of history and God's story. And then I realized, wow, it's so unfair. Right? Don't we all have a certain heart for the underdog? Right? When we see someone really miserable and they keep getting beaten down and beaten and beaten, Yeah. So that kind of heart came into me, and I thought, yeah, I really want God to win. This time, in God's providence, I really want to help God win. And that's why I decided, okay, even if it means becoming a religious person, all right, I'll do this because I really want God to win this time. Right? All right, so what I want to talk about then is this effort. So here's Moses, okay? At the time of Moses, God's providence reached a terrible situation. He's called the people out of Egypt. And he's told Moses, I want to fulfill the promise I made to Abraham, that I'm going to make of you a great people, a great nation, and that through this nation I'm going to bless all the families of the earth. In other words, I'm going to bring everyone back home. Okay? But it goes very badly with Moses. The people, when they come out of Egypt, they rebel. They go against God, right? And they're in the wilderness, and there's this desperate situation where God's going to lose everything, right? So what does God have Moses do? He has Moses build a tabernacle, okay? So this is related to the Chungwonggong, of course. So the tabernacle is very important. The number one reason God made this universe and made man and woman is he wanted to have a body. He wanted to live in a substantial form through which he can be with his children and live with us and experience love together. That's why God created us to be his body, right? But we became the bodies of sin, of evil, right? So here with the story with Moses is, God says here in Exodus 25, 1-2, the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You are to receive the offering for me from everyone whose heart prompts them to give. And what God is telling Moses to do is, I want you to build me a body, okay? It's called the tabernacle. I want you to make this place for me where I can dwell amongst my people, right? So it's kind of primitive. It's not a beautiful body of a perfect person, but at least it would be something. And what God wanted was for people to offer from their hearts. It needs to be something pure, right? So Exodus 35, 20, 21. Then the whole Israelite community withdrew from Moses' presence, and everyone who was willing and whose heart moved them came and brought an offering to the Lord for the work on the tent of meeting. That's the tabernacle. For all its service and for the sacred garments. So here we see the people who had committed great sin earlier, they decide from their hearts, okay, let's give, let's do this. And they all gave of what they had, okay? And with that, it was possible to build the tabernacle. Okay? So the tabernacle was the outer tent that represents the human body. It was the inner tent that represents the human spirit. And then inside the inner tent is the Ark of the Covenant. It's a special chest made with gold, and there are other items that are kept in here made of gold. So people gave whatever, rings they had or whatever gold they had. They offered everything so that this could be built. And this became really important because Moses dies in the wilderness. He can't fulfill the providence. Even Joshua, who took it from Moses, could not fulfill the providence. And centered upon this tabernacle, God has a way to be amongst the people. And in the future, when he would find someone to come centered on the tabernacle, where the 10 Commandments were kept, God could restart. God could still continue his providence on this earth. So this was kind of like a very primitive way that God could actually dwell on this earth with his people. Okay? All right, so 400 years later, God decides, okay, now we're going to build the kingdom that I promised Abraham, right? So here's 1 Chronicles 29:1. Then King David said to the whole assembly, "My son Solomon, the one whom God has chosen, is young and inexperienced. The task is great." And the task he's talking about is to build God's home, to build God's temple. Because this palatial structure, that's the temple, is not for man, but for the Lord God. So David understood how important this was, and he's calling upon his elders and leaders to support his son, Solomon, in the building of God's temple. Then 1 Chronicles 29:6 and 14. Then the leaders of families, the officers of the tribes of Israel, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, and the officials in charge of the king's work gave willingly. And David's prayer, "But who am I and who are my people that we should be able to give as generously as this?" So what happens is, like the time of the tabernacle, the people give generously, okay? They give willingly from their heart to build God's house, to build God's temple. So David is saying, who am I and who are we to be able to give so generously? And then he says, everything comes from you. He's saying to God, everything we have actually comes from you. And we have given you only what comes from your hand. So this is a beautiful heart of David, who's saying to God, actually all the wealth we have, it really comes from you. So we're just giving to you what really belongs to you. So with this heart, the temple is built, okay? So this was the place where God could dwell amongst his people. It's pretty primitive. The high priest was allowed to go into the Holy of Holy Places only one time each year, okay? So it's very limited, but it's God's great effort at that time. And if you look more closely at the prayers of Solomon when he builds the temple, this could have been the nation, this could have been the place where the Messiah would come and where God's kingdom would be established. But tragically, that did not happen. And the kingdom was split asunder in two, and it would be hundreds and hundreds of years later that finally the true temple of God would come into this world with the birth of Jesus. So the living temple of God was Jesus, but that's only half the temple, right? You need the other half. So Jesus came to be this temple, but he could not find God's daughter. He could not receive God's daughter at that time. And so Jesus, who should have been united with God's daughter in love, right? Giving birth to children. So the Holy of Holy Places should have been the place where Jesus and his bride, the daughter of God, unite in the act of love and then bring forth a lineage on this earth. That was God's great hope, but it could not happen. You know what this is? The Wailing Wall, right? So this is one of the most holy places on the earth in people's minds. Okay? This is the western wall. It is the outer. Okay, this is not the actual temple itself. It is the outer containing wall of the original temple that Solomon built. Right? And it's called the Wailing Wall, and people from all around the world come here to pray. Jews come here to pray. This is where their temple was. And Christians come here to pray. It is one of the most holy places. We know Jesus lived, right? But we don't know exactly where his home was. We don't know exactly where he went. But one thing we know for sure is at the age of 12, he was in the temple. So up on top of this, there's this, Temple Mount, and where the original temple was. We know for sure Jesus was there at the age of 12. He was there later when he was teaching in the temple, right? So this is one holy place for Christians and also for Islam. It is a holy place. It's believed up on top of this, the Temple Mount, there's a dome there called the Dome of the Rock. It's believed that Muhammad ascended to heaven from that place, right? So can you imagine if you could trace back in your ancestry and, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, they helped to put in that stone there, for this holy place, okay? Yeah. So, today we have true parents. Okay. They are truly God's temple. Yeah. But true parents cannot be on the earth forever. What do you think? With Adam and Eve couldn't have lived forever, right? But the place where Adam and Eve lived and gave birth to their children, wouldn't that be a holy place? Right? So as humankind multiplies and people are living in Africa, they're living in Asia, they're now living in America and South America, they're living in Australia. If the original family had grown and expanded, we'd all have our individual homes, right? But there'd be one home we all share in common, and that would be where Adam and Eve lived, right? And we would all feel like, wow, that's my original home. Wherever you're living on the earth, you would feel, well, that's my original home, where we first started, our first ancestor, Adam and Eve. So at that place, I'm sure they would have built something beautiful for people to come and to experience and meet with their original ancestor. Okay? So this is Cheongwon-gong. Isn't it beautiful? Amazing. Yeah. We showed before the video from Reverend Dunkley. It's available online. I encourage you to take a look at it. He describes how the interior is. The interior of this place is just stunning. This is not like some other home. True parents are making a home for themselves somewhere. Please don't ever think like that. True parents are building this very special place. True mother is the one doing it. And she's doing it because she understands God's deep desire to live amongst his people. Of course, God will live in all of our homes. And God will live inside each of our temples, this body. But that's Andy Compton. That's not, Dr. Kim, or that's not, Stephen Jarvis or someone else. This is Andy Compton's home, right? And then, of course, my wife and I and our children, we share a home together, right? Which we all share in common. But there should be a home where all of us, as one family, share together, one home together. That's what True Mother has understood so clearly. So True Mother, her love for God is she really wants to make God happy and create this place where God can dwell, where it can be his home on this earth, built by our True Mother in her lifetime. And we happen to be alive at the same time, together with True Mother. So I just wanted to say that it's an incredible place. There are rooms in there that kind of look like the Assembly Hall for the United Nations. There are rooms where leaders of nations, I hope not too far in the future, will come together. And they're going to resolve all these terrible conflicts in the world. They're going to come to this place, and they're going to feel the heart of God. And And they're going to realize how ridiculous they've been. How can anyone in front of Heavenly Parent kill another person, wage war against another person? We just need to bring people into a place where they feel that kind of heart, the parental heart. And then I guarantee you they're going to change. Leaders will change. They'll realize, oh my gosh, in front of God, I cannot wage this war against these other people. Yeah. So this is an incredible place, and we have the incredible blessing to be a part of its building. Yeah. This is an amazing blessing, and it's my responsibility as a pastor to make sure everyone receives this blessing. If even one person from our congregation doesn't participate in this blessing, I'm going to be in trouble. God's going to come to me. Andy, what's wrong with you? You don't know how to lead? Okay. So I feel this strongly, okay? So this is our situation. Heaven has asked the Las Vegas community to make an offering of $500,000. Okay? That's what heaven has asked us to make as an offering. Okay? This green slide, I don't know why it got so big, but it shouldn't be that big. It's like I just shot myself in the foot, you know? That's supposed to be really low so you can feel like, oh, we got to, get going. We have to get going. Okay, so 159,000, right? So if you double that, that's what, around 300,000? So you have to imagine that it's around here somewhere, okay? In other words, from 159 to 500, we have a ways to go, all right? And so what I wanted today, just what I want to say is this. My first goal is that everybody participate. Oh. I really want everyone to participate because it is going to be such a blessing for you in the future. Now, I know that in the pledge cards, it starts off at 800. That's the beginning point. Okay? If you can't give 800, that's fine. What you want to do is you want to offer something from your sincere heart. If you can't give 800, try to give 400. If you can't give 400, try to give 200. If you can't give 200, try to give 100. Okay? But I really want to encourage everyone in this community to participate. So here's maybe a better slide. Okay, so far, according to my records, it could be wrong, maybe it's not updated, but the number 103, that's how many people made an offering to our community in 2024. That means in the last 11 months, 103 people made some kind of offering here at Sunday service. Okay? So I said, okay. So my goal is to have 103 people make an offering towards the Cheongmyeong. Because I really want 100%, everyone to give something. Even if you only give $10, okay? That everyone can give something. That's really what my heart, I want to achieve that. Even more than reaching the 500,000. I believe if everybody gives something, that without a doubt, we'll go past the 500,000. I believe that. Aju? Okay. Another thing. You're in your physical life. The physical life is very precious. It can make you go down if you do the bad thing. But in your physical life, if you do the good thing, you can gain tremendously. I know we all think, okay, it's the heart. We have to offer our heart, right? But sometimes your heart is not yet at that level. A good example is my relationship with my wife, my beautiful wife, Lydia, okay? When we first were matched and brought together as a couple, for the first couple years, I couldn't find any heart to love her, as my wife, as a sister, but not as my wife. So I was struggling and struggling and struggling. And then finally God said to me, Andy, Stop thinking about you and your feelings about her, and just start to give. Give something. Give her a gift. Just do something external. And it's amazing. After doing that for a while, my heart began to change. See? So the physical world is an amazing thing. It means you don't have to be perfect. Even your heart doesn't have to be the best heart. Your motivation doesn't have to be the best motivation. You can be even motivated just because your pastor is kind of pressuring you and annoying you. He's calling you on the phone. Hey, could you just give? Like that. But if in the end you give something, then God can say, this person gave. That is an amazing thing about the physical world. Yeah. We can make that offering. When you go to the spirit world, you can't do that. Okay? Your heart is your heart. You are what you are. But in the physical world, we can make an offering. Yeah. So Jesus said in Matthew? He says, when you go out as my disciples, if someone just gives you a cup of water, if they help you out just with a cup of water, their reward will never be lost in heaven. And the point is, just God needs that condition for people to do something. So that's why I really want to encourage everyone. And pray, okay? Please pray. So my wife and I, we made an offering, okay? And then when I was praying the Chungshim one, I got the inspiration. God says to me, Andy, you know that money you're setting aside for your Sungwa ceremony in the future? Well, no. God says, don't worry. You're going to live long enough. So if you donate that for the Chungmogung, I'm going to let you live long enough that you can replenish that money that you need for your Sungwa ceremony. Right? So I want to encourage you to pray, ask God. And then one more thing. When you decide on an amount, whatever it is, then give a little more than that. That's how we can touch God's heart. So I pray, okay, I can give this much. Okay, that's it. And then just give a little more. Do a little more than what and then that way you will surprise God. And I really believe that this offering that we make as a community is going to be an incredible condition for us to succeed in witnessing and in teaching and in raising up our youth and guiding people to the matching and blessing. Right? So these are the pledge cards, okay? And I have a whole bunch of them here. I'm going to put them in the middle. So when you come up to make your offering today, if you're not one of these, 34 people, please take a pledge card and then just write in the amount. It starts at 800, but you can write in any amount that you feel you can do, okay? All right, thank you very much, everyone. God bless you.